Pat here from Rain Country. God's good all the time. And today I'm gonna troubleshoot my 1976 case crawler. It's a case 450. I just rebuilt this lift cylinder here, and there's a few other things that I want to kind of tidy up on this little old machine. It's got a new undercarriage under it when I bought it. It has a great engine. Starts right up, one hit on the ignition and she fires off. So just getting a little bit of TLC, trying to figure out why the front end is just a little bit sloppy on it. I actually know what it is, or know what some of it is. Again, it's old, and so there's wear in the pins and whatnot. So there's one obvious thing that I was checking on. So I removed these plates. You have to look it around in there. That's okay. I gotta take this off. I'm gonna straighten it up a little bit. It's a little bit dented. But I removed this plate. There's just two screws holding it down, and it's also dented, so I'm gonna straighten this up. So anyway, I got to looking, and I got a couple of pins here in the tilt cylinder that's haywire. So the angle cylinders going this way and going this way have two pins that are supposed to be seated, but they're not. Look at that. This one here was loose. Have to start the machine up, move it a little bit. I think these will be easier to manage one at a time, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that one on the other side alone and just go ahead and clean this one out. It's just full of grease, mud, and dirt, and all that good fun stuff. So I'll go ahead and clean that up. So we'll get in here and show you what's going on. So they have these, what they call a special washer. And it's special all right, because it looks like somebody has had the same problem in the past. So what happens is, it looks like these pins, they wobble around, they start chafing and eat themselves through this special washer. This is the pin that runs down into there, and like this one here, it's just popped out of its place. So I'm going to try to work on a better system that's going to prevent that. I won't know until I clean out the hole what I have to work with, but it looks like I might be able to make a plate that runs across the top of that to hold both of those down a little bit better than that flimsy little washer, or two washers, or whatever that is. Yeah, it probably lasts for quite a while, but you know, I think I can just make a plate that would fit over top of the pin here, this hole over here, and also over top of this pin, and you know, make it out of a little bit more substantial material, and that'll be a little bit more robust. So I have to get in here and tap this down to where I can get a wrench on it. Yep, not much like in their special washers. Looks like somebody's had this problem quite a few times. Now I could be cheap and just go get some new washers or turn those around, but I don't want to come visit this thing every so often. It looks to me like it's just a area of weakness that needs to be corrected. Well, I'll get to cleaning this stuff up in here. Take you guys off camera. You don't need to see me doing all that mess. I'll just dig those out and clean them out, and see what we can come up with for some sort of a plate or something that can go over top of this to better secure this. Well, this stuff is like concrete in there. The hole was actually only maybe 3/8 of an inch deep, but the pins go in. You can see how far up the pins are. Well, I have to get in there and dig all of that out. You can see how hard that is. This is almost like, well, like sedimentary rock. It looks like a year's worth of grease and sand and dirt. And I'll go over here and get the air compressor going. Old screwdriver I don't care too much about. Works so good as a long chisel. That's about as hard as sedimentary rock. Wow, that goes way in there. I think I filled the bottom of the plate. The hole. Pinhole. I know what some of you guys are cringing about me using a screwdriver to. This is actually a pretty good one too. But I've resharpened screwdrivers before. And if you don't have anything else to use, a screwdriver works pretty good. As you all probably can attest to. Okay, so I drew this cylinder back, started the machine up, drew the cylinder back to where I can get into the hole and clean this out, and that's how deep the pin's supposed to sit. Well, there's quite a bit of slop in here, and this doesn't have a bushing in it. However, the cylinder does have a bushing. So I took a steel brush and cleaned up these bolts. I think what I'll do is I'll take and run a tap in there and clean this threaded hole out and see about making a new plate for this, plate that stems clear across here and captures both of those pins. That'll keep them from riding up. Instead of those flimsy little washers, then that should last for years to come. Now, again, I think maybe just sizing up, getting a larger pin and dropping in there is going to be my most cost-effective thing to do. I'll measure these holes and see if I can find some round stock that might just drop right in there. But I'll go ahead and get this other hole cleaned out. Well, I think I'll probably have to just clean that one as it sits. I won't be able to, for some reason I was thinking I could operate this, and this cylinder here would retract and I could do just like I did the other side, but for some reason it's not working out for me that way. So what I just did is I pulled this ahead, and I think I might have exercised a little bit of fluid out of the other cylinder, and I was hoping I could pull it just enough to make this one here swing free like the other one, but I wasn't able to do that. I don't want to get too excited about it, so I think I might be able to clean it as it sets in place there. Okay guys, we're back at the shop, and I have a couple of pieces of round stock that are the proper length, just a tiny bit shorter than this original pin, but they are 1/8 of an inch larger than this. So these are 1.5 inches, whereas this is 1 1/8 inches. There's a lot of slop where this runs through. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to replace this with a larger diameter pin. The bushing actually that's in the angle cylinder still has quite a bit of meat left on it, so I'm not too worried about it eating away at the inside of the part where the cylinder mounts to the dozer blade. They had what they called special washers that used to slip in here and hold this down and keep it from working its way up, but that didn't prove to seem to work very well. What happens is a lot of material builds up underneath this over time, works its way down in and around the cylinder where the cylinder mounts to the blade, and over time this just builds up. So what I'm hoping to do is make a plate out of a section of this angle iron. I have to cut this. I'm going to use a 3-inch face on this and build out 7 inches and around the corners, and then around the back side of it where the hoses drape over the back side of that area, and maybe even put like a little rubber piece in here to bush between the hoses chafing on the back side of this. These actually are suspended a little bit above the bottom of the cavity, the very bottom. If you drop these down into the bottom, you just let these free fall, the surface comes up to about right here, and it takes a little bit to work these things up. So away from that top plate, because it kind of recesses down about that far, and it's really hard to get a hold of these to pull these out in case you have to do some maintenance. So what I plan on doing is, with these new pins, I'm going to drill and tap a hole in here, and then have a place where I can actually bolt this plate to, and also have a place where I can, when I pull these out, I can remove the plate, put these back in, and then pull these out of service easy enough. So I have tap and die bolts that I found in my spare bolts bin. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So yesterday off camera, I just took and cleaned that hole out, cleaned the rest of the rust, old dirt out of the hole where the new pins are going to go, just with a little wire brush. It worked really well, and then I blew the hole out with air. So here's the finished pins. This is really hard steel. It was really hard to tap. So we got that done yesterday. And so what I'm going to do is I've got a vat of grease here. A little more than I need. But I'm going to go ahead and just inundate that hole full of grease to keep that from rusting away and doing what it did before. Well, it looks like I'm going to have to start the machine up and work that cylinder back and forth in order to get that to fall into place. We needed to install these pins so I can take as exact measurements as I can through all of the different holes, so I know the placement on that plate that I'm going to put across there. in order to keep those secure and down. So we'll have to take a measurement center to center between the pin holes, the holes for where the pins are. So I'm going to measure from the inside of that tapped hole to the outside of this tapped hole, and that difference will give me center to center. So I got 4 and 21/32. I need to get center to center measurement on the other holes that keep this, that's going to keep the plate secure. So after taking the measurements over there at the machine, we're back at the shop engineering on the fly, and I've got a game plan. So here's the basic layout. I'm going to cut this angle iron at 7 inches, and then I'm going to cut this one side of the angle iron off. And I haven't decided whether or not to leave a little bit of lip right there. That'll serve one of two things. It'll help the hydraulic lines to bridge over any of the fasteners, and the other thing is that I'm considering putting some neoprene underneath this when I bolt this down, and it's draping the neoprene over that so there's no chafing between any of the metal parts, bolts, and this plate that I make. So I believe what I want to do is I'm going to give just a little bit of a lip there when I cut this piece off. So this will be cut off just a little bit high, maybe 1/4 inch or so, and I'll round that off nice. And then when I fasten this together, I'll pinch the neoprene underneath this plate, and that will flap over top of this plate, allowing a little extra protection for the hydraulic lines that come over top of this. So the other thing is I got the bolt pattern laid out. This is going to be 4 5/8 inches between these 2 points. That's where the pins are going to be. And then back here is 2 3/4 inch between these 2 points, and that's where the plate is actually going to mount down onto the machine. So, and I'll also make these holes just a little bit larger so there's a little bit of wiggle room in there, allow for a little bit of flex, and allow for any mistakes in measurement. There'll be a little bit of give in the holes here. These are to fasten to the pins themselves. These will be fastening to the machine. Okay, I think it's complete. Hope so anyway. I'm going to take it out, see how it lines up, see what we need to do from there. We might just be done. All right, now I have the piece all greased up. I'll put grease all over everything. Just keeps things from rusting around here. And I smeared grease all over the new pins. And this cover plate, I went ahead and straightened that up. It was bent all to pieces, and so that was a little tricky straightening that out. Cody and I will get this set up and see if it will go into place. So the pins are already in. All right, this is where I get really greasy. I'll line up the holes. And these never had washers, so I'm not going to put washers back in it. Okay, that's good. Those two grab. Looks like there's plenty of room for these. I already know this fits. All right, let's start this thing up and see if it runs. Seemed to work out real good. Anyway, I'm really happy with that. Yeah, my next job is going to be to get these cutting edges turned over. Hope you guys gleaned something out of this video. Thanks for stopping by. Take care and God bless.